As they say, we are rolling.
My man, how you been?
Good, man. Good. We talk all the time, but not in front of people. I've been good, man. Trying to minimize the amount of fires I'm expected to put out. I think that's a huge deal for me. Just making sure that I maintain a certain level of peace and tranquility in my life, and I don't get too consumed with having to put out fires. How about you?
Good, man. I think if anything's on my mind these days, it's execution, getting better at executing.
For sure.
You know, for our sake, my career's sake, you know, being in that position where it's like we feel like we've got every tool imaginable to, you know, get things done and deliver, you know, a product or creative idea and bring it to life. And so now it's just a matter of like filling in the gaps of
For sure.
what's left to do, because you pretty much got all the tools. In fact, more tools and more know-how than a lot of other people out there that's still doing it. So it's more like just figuring that out and then just being accountable to get it done, you know. And so, that's what keeps me up at night, or that's what I be thinking about, you know, before I go to sleep.
It's crazy to even say that we have the tools, like we're pretty much starting off. And I, it's relative when I say starting off, right? Because we've been at this for a while, but we literally, it's almost like we reverse engineered the entire process. That we came into this with a lot of the tools that people acquire after having been successful for 2 years or 3 years. Like we're literally starting out with those things. So it feels like the pressure is really on, for us to do things a certain way. But the consistency is key, right? Just executing on consistency has been, my personal biggest challenge, man. Just because what we were talking about before, if I run into a wall or if I run into too many walls, when trying to pursue something, man, I'll just switch and start working with what's working. Just because, for me as an entrepreneur, it's tough when you don't have that guaranteed check to kind of rely on, and man, I gotta make moves, right? And so it's not that I give up on it, but it's just I gotta do something else to supplement an income, which is why I've always been thankful to have basketball training as something while I work the kinks out of the other things that we do, and also including the clothing and everything like that. But it's challenging, man. It's challenging for sure. Not enough to make me want to go back to a 9 to 5, but it's definitely challenging.
For sure. I think the purpose of EveryDay GetIt, or one of the purposes of EveryDay GetIt was to have internal motivation and an external motivation as far as what the material, the conversations, and the content would be that we would put out into the world. So when I think about the whole premise of EveryDay GetIt, I almost think about something that we could probably execute right now in real time, just so that people understand what we would want them to get out of it. And that's basically this. That's basically, we're sitting here at this table with our 10,000 hours plus in a multitude of skill sets.
Right.
We have had time to live and learn a bit.
For sure.
Go through life. And now the important question that comes to mind is, well, knowing what you know now, if you were to start at a clean slate, like this whiteboard, what shall we do going forward? It's almost as though treating this moment, this day, this episode, as if this was our day one.
Day one.
Even though we're coming to our day one with a lot of history and work and experiences, but we're going to treat this day one with a certain level of quality and attention because we've had the journey up into this point. What will we now do and sort of proclaim to do going forward, knowing that this could be a new beginning for us and then a new beginning for somebody that might be watching as we lay out our playbook?
Yeah, I think the first thing, man, and just because we see, right, let's just look at it from like a business perspective completely, because that's what it is, right? So aside from the passion and the love that we have for what we do, I think if we look at it strategically from a business perspective, you know, deals are being thrown out left and right for podcasts. Some of the information is great information. The quality may not be, you know, the highest. The visuals may not be the highest, but at the end of the day, the information that is provided is second to none. And I think that we need to focus on becoming masters of the information that we provide to the listener, and then get very intentional about being committed no matter what. Like, the show must go on, kind of like a mindset. By any means necessary, we need to be at this table in front of these mics, you know, creating content every week, like madmen, like almost an obsessive, you know, behavior pattern. Like, no, bro, like whatever's going on, you know, whatever time we set,
Whatever
like,
happens.
Whatever happens, but I'll be there. You know what I mean? Like, and we just got to make it happen. And I think when you develop that sort of a mindset, less fires happen, right? Like, I think anything that we allow to get in the way will get in the way. And we're not, you know, young kids living in our parents' basement. So life is always going to be lifing, no matter what. So I think that, you know, if we want to change certain things about life, like, you know, I'm successful at what I do, you're successful at what you do, but there's a lot more that we both want to do, you know, collectively, you know, for our families, for the different things that we have going on. There's just so much more that we want to do. And I think the only way that that's going to happen is if we, you know, we become laser focused about these different steps. I mean, we have, you know, Infinite Ethos together, and that's morphing into things that, you know, it's far greater than what it initially started out to be. And so we have to start to double down on those things, man, and with that obsessive mindset. And I think if we can do that and we can just be consistent, those small victories will lead to, you know, bigger victories, you know, greater opportunities. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're missing. We have, you know, minus maybe one or two pieces, we literally have everything that we need within our inner circle. And as far as equipment, we're full on beast, man. A media company right now. Like, it's not even a game. Like, we can literally handle every aspect, top to bottom. I guess we would literally be the epitome of being vertically integrated. You know, there isn't anything that we can't do in-house.
Right.
So having that, I mean, if that's not motivation, like, what are we going to do? Are we going to allow this to be the ultimate motivation? Because we put the hard work in. Like, this is the part where it's tough. It's tough for people to take their personal coins and invest in themselves. It's easy to go get an angel investor and have somebody else fund the whole thing. That process is a lot faster, but oftentimes it's short-lived. We put our own, you know, coins into this. You know, it's like, as Dame Dash is often famously quoted, we put up our own dough.
Right.
It was no investor coming in to save us. So this is 100% us with no debt.
Right. Right. That's it.
That's amazing in and of itself. So let's not sleep on that. Like, we did something great.
For sure.
And most people would say we would be crazy to do it that way because the process takes a lot longer. But if we're going to be the poster children for independent moves being made, and we want to control, you know, we want 100% creative control, then these are the sacrifices that we had to make. I'm pretty sure between, you know, your network and my network, we could have just, you know, partnered up with someone and took that loan from a label and just did what we had to do. But we did it the independent way, a true independent way. And, you know, unfortunately, but fortunately, that road is a lot longer and it's not easy. A lot of people bail. You know what I mean? A lot of people, they get into this thing and it's just like, man, without an immediate return. And that's the thing. Like, we haven't gotten a return on any of the investments other than just the satisfaction of knowing that we did it.
Right.
You know, we built this ourselves, regardless of what obstacles we faced. We stayed at it, and it's like, okay, you can't age us out. You're not gonna be able to buy us out, and we don't need you for motivation to keep going. We're
Right.
going no matter what.
Right. So yeah, knowing what we know now, the one thing about time is, technology has affected all the industries that we're a part of in a big way and in a good way. The same concerns we might have had years ago about how to gain exposure, how to get distribution, how to get more impressions.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things are, in a way, of a lesser concern in terms of knowing the answer to those questions.
Right.
There's just way too many tools, and there's way too many methods of gaining all of those things, all of those areas. And so we know that the key ingredient is always an internal one. The consistency, like you mentioned just now, that's going to be a part of it regardless. And I
Right.
think a lot of people understand now that it very much is a numbers game. The quality can compete with the numbers, but it's only when the quality also reaches those numbers.
Right.
And so we truly believe we have the quality and we've had it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's, in fact, we've just been more quiet with the quality.
Right.
And so
That may also, not to cut you off,
Yeah.
that may also be a little bit of our problem.
Mhm.
Being okay with being in the background and not
Yeah.
being loud when so much of this industry that we're fighting to, or that we're working towards being a part of, or operating within, so much of it is based on attention. And I don't think attention is something that either one of us have ever really cared about much, because we've always been cool in our own skin. We've always had our own level of popularity and relationships and different things. And so we never needed those types of things to validate us or to feel important, or a part of the culture. Like, we always played by our own rules. And I do think there are certain areas where, like, if we want to change the game, we got to play the game.
Mhm.
I can see where, that could hurt us, in a lot of different ways, where it's like, yeah, man, we do kind of need to at least let them know what we're doing over here. Like, we can't,
Yeah.
be a top secret organization and then be like, yo, man, ain't nobody giving us no love for,
Right.
what we doing. And it's like, well, we kind of set it up that way.
Yeah.
So that we
Real
could
quiet.
be unbothered, like,
Yeah.
real quiet, get
Yeah.
to it, not really. We come from that era of, real bad boys move in silence, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like, but man, okay, we're at the point now where we need certain things in order to move forward.
Yeah, and I guess it's a part of that whole, what people might refer to as like your digital footprint right
Mhm.
now, and how much are we exposing ourselves in different ways so that we just become much more easy to be recognized and or respected in some regards. I think we still have to be able to deliver. Let's say if we have a client, one client could care less how much exposure we have on the outside as long as they get a beautiful product.
Right.
A new client might find us because of that beautiful product and because we told people that we created that product.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's different ways to go about it, but I think that there is something healthy about increasing your visibility, I think, but as very sort of humble characters, you try to keep that at a limit so that it never controls too much of your psyche when you're not plugged in.
Right.
You don't want to necessarily be going for a walk in the park and yet be thinking about, did somebody engage with you on your last post, or are you getting enough of the attention you think you ought to have compared to X, Y, and Z? You just want things to be organic. So I think once we get past all of those, overthinking processes, then we'll just excel. So I think the intent is there. And so for those who might have made it this far into it, I think the lesson here is like we have to become better storytellers for ourselves,
For
right?
ourselves.
For ourselves. There's many people out there. You all have the talent, but you have not been talented at telling your story or selling yourself. And sometimes it feels unnatural, especially depending on your personality type, and you just want to focus on your craft with your head down. But a lot of times that is in fact the key or the for you to reach that next opportunity. You know, you might not get a raise at your job until you put a presentation together and explain why you deserve that raise. And so that's pretty much life. It's like you've got to, you know, like my grandfather used to say, you know, you got to call for the ball if you want it, or if you feel like you have the confidence to help contribute in a game situation. Life is really no different. And so we really have to become better at speaking up for what we want, because our skills won't do the talking for us, not all the time. And so we also have to meet those skills with our voice, basically.
No, for sure. I agree with you 100%. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. I think for myself, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for you. I think for a long time, I associated certain things with other things. And what that basically means is it's just like, all right, I'd rather get people to pay attention than pay for attention, you know? I'm not saying, you know, I don't care. It's like when I was, you know, starting out, you know, and really starting to take music serious, I literally was like, I'll do it for the love, right? Until you realize, like, nobody else is, you know? Even when you're pursuing this music, you know, thankfully I was blessed to have a relationship with you and you know, we can partner up and do a ton of different things, and you just happen to be incredible with the camera. But every aspect of becoming an artist requires you to pay. The artist is at the bottom of the totem pole, right? And so even if you're leasing beats, you got to pay. You got to pay, you know, the engineer. You got to pay. I don't know how this model was set up this way, and I'm not even like trying to shake the tree and change it. I'm just saying that it's a lot to be the artist. It's a lot, you know, and I think it's easier for the younger generation because the younger generation may not necessarily be overly concerned with how they're going to pay their bills. When you're 16, 17, the love is enough. Maybe even when you're 21, 22, 23, which is why hip hop seems like it's so much of a young man's game. Because at that age, the love is enough. It's all you need. You still have people that are in your life that might be supplementing an income for you. That you still have people in your life that are allowing you to live, you know, with them or off of them. And the only thing you have to be responsible for is maybe a cell phone bill and your studio time and, you know, things of that nature. But as you get older and you accumulate more responsibilities, these things start to become more like a bill, you know. So having to spend anywhere from $500 to $1,500 to $2,500 on a video, and then having to pay a graphic designer anywhere from, you know, $75 to $350 for artwork, and then having to pay anywhere from, you know, $45, $50 to $125 an hour for just to record your music. It adds up unless you know, again, you're young, your parents see that you're trying to do something, you know, a family member sees you trying to do something, and maybe they get you, you know, a Scarlett, you know, audio interface, and you get a little studio pack for $300, and now you're on, you know, at the price of what it would cost for, you know, some Jordans and a pair of joggers to match. You kind of in a position where you can record yourself. But as you get older, things do change. And the amount of free time that you have is, you know, less and less. And so it's almost like when you're older and you're trying to pursue this thing, every move, every time you step up to the plate, you got to swing for the fences, you know, and you know, you don't have as much room as someone who is, you know, a lot younger than you would have to just like, okay, I'm gonna keep going for the at bats, keep going for the at bats, keep going for the at bats, because it is a psychological thing too. Like, yo, man, I ain't getting no younger. Like, this is real.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that, the sense of getting it every day is a sense of like, hey, the fire is right under you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sense of like you do have to put this sort of fourth quarter pressure on yourself, because if you don't, time will fly by, and you're not going to be where you want to be.
Mm.
Um, and and you're going to feel like you should be somewhere further. And not only that, we're all trying to, this whole generation is trying to break certain traditions. Folks are not trying to work until they're 65, only to live for about 10 more years after that,
Right.
before they start traveling where they want to travel and sort of live this free. So retirement is no longer an age; it's more of a financial
Mindset.
freedom.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a mindset.
And
Retirement is
so,
a mindset now.
and there's no limit on that. There's no one, no one gets to tell us like when we can be financially free as people, as humans, and so we have the freedom to determine, how we want to live. And so, the economics of it, it's all interconnected with, the results, the outcomes, and that's just one of the outcomes we want. But it's not just for the sake of having it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just for the sake of just to do it for status sake. It's like there's we all have larger goals, and obviously dreams that you want to bring to fruition. So for us, we have Infinite Ethos, and for those who don't know, how would you define Infinite Ethos?
Infinite ethos is, I think it's ever evolving, right? It's always, it's weird because it fits the needs of both of us as individuals, but then also as a collective in terms of like everything that we are as creatives. Right? So it's the music, it's the visual component, it's the cultural beliefs, right? Just that the mantras that we live by. It's the community that that we seek, that gives us life. A community of creatives, but it's also the business opportunities that we hope and pray for. It is the quintessential centerpiece of everything that we do. And it's all those components, right? It's the marketing and the promotion. It's the ability to take a product from nothing and make it something. It's concept, it's distribution, it's manufacturing, it's all of these different things, and hence the name Infinite, right? Like the possibilities are infinite, but it's all rooted and brought together by this ethos that we live by, right? And so for me, I guess that's how I would describe it. I feel like the possibilities are endless. What we can do and what we will accomplish as a company, as a brand, it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing and growing. Like me personally, I wouldn't be surprised if 2-3 years from now, we're sitting across from each other and we're having this conversation, and we have a ton of commercial real estate up under the Infinite Ethos brand, because I see that that's where it's going. That's what it makes sense. Like these are all of the things that we've talked about while we were touring, while we were getting to know each other, while we were planning, while we were thinking about things like family, while we were thinking about things like legacy, while we were thinking about all of these different things. It's become all of that. So to see Infinite Ethos doing movies, to see Infinite Ethos doing real estate, to see Infinite Ethos doing angel investing, it's just that's the natural progression.
Yeah, definitely. I think, everything you just said. I think if we position ourselves to where really there's no, many times there will be no rules that govern us, and there'll be no box that we can perfectly fit in.
Right.
And I think that'll become, our edge, so
For
to
sure.
speak, the ability to be, almost just universal and adaptable to the various needs of art, entertainment, business, lifestyle, pretty much everything, you name it. And doing so with sort of a conscious effort, of, positivity and progression and, principles that for the most part, most people can respect. Most people across the globe, really. It's like a global mindset as well.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that being said, and if this, again, going back to what I was saying a few minutes back, like, if this was our do-over, our clean slate, day one sort of initiative in your mind, and there's no right or wrong step, but it's more like, what shall we focus on, or what shall we promise and guarantee? Obviously, we want to show up to this mic no less than once a week.
Right.
But in addition to that, what sort of work would we like to, ideally, start putting out in front of other people, putting out for the world?
Selfishly, but unselfishly, I got this itch to just show what I can do as an artist in terms of consistency by building a catalog that is a catalog of substance. You know what I mean? Like, it's well thought out, it's well put together, and it just feels good to have someone not be afraid to be an adult. Right? Like, I embrace adulthood full on. I'm not trying to be someone that I'm not. I'm not trying to be younger than what I am. I'm embracing exactly where I am in my life at this point and encouraging other people to look forward to getting to this point. So it doesn't mean that because I'm this age and I rap about what I rap about, I'm excluding anyone who's younger. I think that for the person who's younger and for the person who's my age, it's aspirational. Like, I've changed over time the subject matter. I really put a lot more emphasis on, doing the mental work now in my music, and then also the financial side of it, because you cannot pay your bills off the love. So if all you're doing this for is the love, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing your fans a disservice as well too, because it's almost like, well, if I live this positive lifestyle, I got to be broke.
Right.
Do I have to struggle because I want to do what's right? And I feel a lot of pressure to succeed because I feel the need to be an example that you don't have to. You can do conscious capitalism, right? You don't have to step on someone's neck in order to make it work. You don't have to. You don't have to do someone greasy in order to get ahead. And so much of what this business, the music business, has become is just that. But there's also a lot of healthy relationships that go on. Like, you hear it in the interviews, guys like, man, I don't really mess with too many rappers in this industry, is this and that and whatever. And it's like, all right, cool. But that model, the music industry as we know it, is dying anyway. Mm-hmm. So what's next? Where is it going? My thing is like, I kind of got an idea of where it's going, and I want us to be at the forefront of getting there.
Right.
And I want to showcase that. I want to showcase that you can be intelligent. You can even be conflicted. Like, that's part of it, right? Like, you don't have. It's not all. Everything that I'm going through is not all right. I don't expect everybody to agree with every single thing that I have to say. But this is my experience. I'm just giving you my truth. I'm just giving it to you based on the way, I've survived what was given to me. And so I want to showcase that. I want people to walk with me through that journey, because I feel like for so long in hip hop, we've been robbed of the opportunity of seeing what hip hop looks like through the eyes or through the lens of an adult. Like, I see that there's always this need to, like, if you're a reform goon, right? Like a reform gangster, it's like, there's always this need to let people know that at any second you'll still pop their head off their shoulders, right? Like, don't get it twisted. Just because you see me out here feeding the homeless, don't think I still won't go upside your head. You know what I mean? It's like, at what point do we get comfortable enough to leave that behind? You know what I mean? Like, at what point do we get comfortable enough? Because we don't want to be judged by that, right? We don't want to be judged by that. We don't want to be judged by being a drug dealer. We don't want to be judged by being a goon. We don't want to be judged by, the life that we had to live in the streets. So at what point do we stop using that as our business card?
Right.
Right. And so I just want to be the example for that. Like, man, you don't have to like I lived a very real life, and that doesn't mean that, you know, everybody else's life was fake, but it's just like I lived a very real life. I went through some very challenging and traumatic experiences throughout my life. But do I want to keep putting that out in my music, or do I want to be triumphant? Do I want people to feel like there is victory on the other side of adversity if you can just push through and get to that point? And I think that that's why artists like Nipsey, you know, they were so relatable, because it was aspirational. It did give people the opportunity to kind of dream a little bit. And it's not just about flashing the shiny things at you, but literally kind of like laying out that blueprint of like, how do you become successful despite circumstance? Mm-hmm. That's really what I want to showcase consistently, to where it's like, I'm not just winning by myself, but it's like in this music is the blueprint to succeed if you come from what I come from, right? Like look, man, I'm not willing to do any of the things that are necessary to speed this process up. I'm not willing to run scams. I'm not willing to sell drugs. I'm not willing to do any criminal activity to get to where I want to be. I'm just not. And I'm not funded by any criminal activity. Like, I don't have an older cousin or a big homie that can put me in position to win based on what they did in the streets. So the process is a lot longer. But I shouldn't be any less respected because of that. I shouldn't be any less sought after or any less listened to because I'm missing that component, when that's the thing that we all want to get away from anyway. Nobody grows up and says they want to be the dope boy.
Right. And I think, like you said, so much of these mixed notions are changing because the players are changing, the faces are changing. People come in to this industry with totally different codes of ethics. And I think only thing that matters now is, we're getting to the point gradually where artist and fan, almost nothing in the middle,
right?
Nothing at all.
Right.
So
direct to consumer,
artist and fan, and the artist is the infrastructure, is the business, is the technology, is the agency, because all of these skill sets and abilities have just become so manageable on an independent level because of technology. And they've become accessible. The data, the numbers, the methods, the distribution. And so more and more and more outside opinions mean less and less and less, I think. And everybody has a voice. And everybody can step up to the plate and speak their voice. And so, for ourselves, we shall become more consistent with the music and sort of live by that example, to match your output. I myself will contribute as much as I can original music to go along with these efforts. So between you putting out the new music, putting out new videos, that's something that we can all measure as something that we're, putting forward. And then in addition to that, anything that we can bring to the table where we're utilizing our skill sets that bring in business. So whether it's your experience with clothing, my experience with continued production or product photography and so forth, anything that sort of brings attention to what it is we're doing, what it is we're talking about, and what we can aim to do is really document that process. So as we build relationships that we do have with various companies out there, we'll do our best to also document how we even started those conversations and now what they're leading to in the form of business, and just basically extending our network. I think the one thing that we can do every single day or every single week is basically extend our network, because there's too many people online to not be able to, access just some of them.
Yeah, for sure.
With, billions and billions of people. And so every single week we come back to the mic, we can come back to the mic after having had, even if it's a short email or LinkedIn message after having met someone new and just getting a little more information than we had the previous week about some aspect of where it is we're trying to grow.
And we're not afraid to put the work in.
Right.
I mean? We're not afraid to do the research. We're not afraid to ask the questions.
It just comes natural.
For sure.
It's just like we're all, lifelong students. Yeah. That's just a part of our learning now. That's the academy we're in now. And so I think I mean, I think that that's what's next for us, man. Really being able to is great from a sense of this is the beginning of May, first week of a new month,
Mm-hmm.
and so we can, really follow up and look back at this as sort of the beginning of a new sense of drive, push behind all the things that we do.
No, for sure. I agree. I look forward to it, man. I look forward, like, just as you're talking, I think back to when we were like on the road. I want to say just outside of DC. When we did that interview with Rakeem, and we were talking about where we seen it going, right? And you asked me a question, and it's funny, but everything in that conversation that we talked about happened. Like, we did it, and then here we are now, right? Like, wanting to partner up and say, okay, look, this is what we want to do. And I was like, it's crazy. I almost wish I would have said more and
Right.
been a little bit more detailed about where I felt like, we should be, because we did all of that.
Right.
We did literally everything that was on that list, in terms of like building it independently, doing it ourselves, and controlling every aspect of it. But the one thing I think that we didn't put enough emphasis on, literally, was just the ears and the eyes. We didn't. There's a lot more to, if you make it, they will come. There's a lot more to that
Right.
phrase,
Right.
right? Like, you're invisible until you're visible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for myself, especially, I probably should have been documenting a lot more, and not being afraid to let people in on what I was doing. Like, to me, it felt like I was fronting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm stunning on people. Like, I'm not gonna show you that we're we're in Hawaii right now, and and go through that process. Like, you can catch it if you see the music video that we shot, but I'm not gonna make that a focal point. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right,
Like,
right.
I'm just thinking back to being at Coppin State and doing the symposium on Illmatic, right? There's no footage of that,
Right.
right? The incredible show that we had at ThoughtWorks,
Mm-hmm.
there's no footage of that.
Right. Right.
You,
Right.
you know what I mean? And so I just see where it's like, if you don't document that process and make it public, it's almost like it never happened unless
Right.
you were there.
Right. And that's the importance of this, the documentation going forward.
Sure.
It has to be something that even if it has to be budgeted, is worth a conversation.
For sure.
Especially in the sense of like, yeah, we do media, but it's like we're at the heart of what it is we're doing. So we can't literally be filming ourselves every second.
Every second, right?
Which is why it's important. Like, we might have to justify getting a photographer and a video person to just follow us around when we're in this city or when we're doing this project, because we just want to be in the moment. And so, these are things to think about going forward, so that we never really, miss any of those opportunities again. And I think now that we know, again, like, this is sort of a new beginning of sorts, and that's something that we now know the power of it. So now it'll be part of our strategy going forward.
For sure. Man, again, I'm just excited, bro. I'm excited. I'm happy and appreciative of the fact that, we put our friendship first before business. We took the time to get to know each other. And so we're family. And I don't think we see enough of that, and I'm not big on just, naming anything as far as race is concerned. I don't go crazy about that. My stance, who I am, what I stand for, what I believe in. But I think that it's important to see true camaraderie between black men. Like, I'm not threatened by you in any way. I don't feel like I need to control you in any way. And I don't feel like I have to clown you in order to make myself feel better. I take pride in who you are as a man, and I brag about it. You know what I mean? Anybody that knows me knows you. And so I'm excited about our friendship, and I'm proud of what we've done. Even though, we want to do so much more.
Right.
Talking to you about it right now, it's probably the first time that I reflected on all that we've done,
Right.
Up to this point, because we're so busy just moving and looking at how we can do things better. I think sometimes we miss that. I know I do. you know. But I'm looking forward to the moments where I can celebrate you publicly for being the person that you are. You know what I mean? Because I think that that needs to be a new trend, bro. Like, we celebrate your brother for just being a dope person, because there are times where you can feel conflicted, where you can feel like this is a thankless job, like I'm doing all of this good, and it's almost like it doesn't even matter, and you keep going off your own fumes.
Right.
But when you're celebrated, that's motivation to keep going. And I think not just for you, but there's other people that are out there that are looking for reasons to be celebrated. And it seems like, I mean, if you ever look at someone's comments, right, like people could show love for like 500 comments, and then the artist will only respond to the person that has something negative to say. Right. And so, like, we got to stop celebrating the negativity so much and recognizing the negativity and giving that so much attention, and start really paying attention to people who are out here killing it, doing it the right way, doing the right thing, having integrity, you know, morals and principles and things that they live by, and celebrating that. We got to change the narrative, bro. And so for me, that's also something that I want to do, is like do a better job of bigging you up for all of the things that you do, and just having a heart that you have, because it's not easy finding people that you can trust along the way. But if that becomes the thing, right, if integrity becomes the new, so to speak, gangster,
right,
and we move in that way, now you just got a bunch of people just moving with integrity. It's almost like you get frowned upon for being a snake. Like, bro, it's not accepted any way, shape, or form. Like, you can't even come around us if that's the energy that you're moving with. Like, that's unacceptable.
Right.
You know, we don't do that clowning, you know, one another thing. We only here to uplift each other. We only here to hold each other, lift each other up. We're not here to hold anybody back. You know, if I see greatness in you, the only time I'm coming at you is if I see that you're not walking in your potential. If I see you falling short, then I'm like, yo, bro, what's going on? Like, everything okay? Because I know that you can kill this.
Right.
Are you afraid of something? Is something troubling you at the crib? Like, what's going on? Where are you right now in your life that's preventing you from seizing this opportunity? I don't think it's enough of that.
Right. For sure. Yeah, I think, looking forward to all those same things. And I think basically just making our voices more known, because, you know, we don't want to be, I want to be able to talk more about what we're doing and a little bit less about what we saw, what we heard.
For sure.
Watch, right?
For sure.
I want us to both feel like we're really aggressive players.
Yeah, we're in the room.
Not to say that we haven't been motivated and inspired countless times by people like E.T. and Secrets of Success and Gary Vee and all these different content creators. But we too do enough and have been a part of enough and been exposed to enough on our own journeys to, you know, be sort of at the same table, or speak around about a lot of these things. And then outside of even those people who motivate us, there's plenty of other folks who are out there, you know, expressing their opinion. And I think I do feel a sense of responsibility and sort of duty to put out an alternative visualization and representation of like what Black men talk about and how we conduct ourselves. And I think the conversations, the thousands of conversations we've had offline, like you always say, oh, we should have had a camera going, should have had something recording, because I don't want so many of these critical conversations to go unheard if we're in a culture now that appreciates long-form conversation.
For sure.
Before, I had that hesitation, like, who wants to hear me talk? I'm a nobody for 2 hours about this. But it's like, whoa, you'd be surprised. A lot of people want to hear that, or a lot of people think the same way, or maybe they don't. But the fact of the matter is, it's a quality subject. It's not talked about enough. And so we have to put it out there in the atmosphere to counter a lot of the other information that might be out there that might not necessarily serve any value. And so to counter, we have a duty as people who are conscious about culture and critical issues to express those thoughts just as much as someone has the ability and freedom to express themselves and put out messages that might not be so critical.
Right.
It's like we have to counter certain things. It's great to be entertained in the world, but here's a chance for us to really have a really a defined focus
Mm-hmm.
on a consistent stream of issues that are relatively conscious and important and significant because it's needed.
For sure.
So we play our part into the scheme of things, and in a way that only makes all things better because then now you have Infinite Ethos in addition to the ETs and all these other great people out there.
For sure.
So I think everybody wins.
For sure.
So but yet we're all different, and so we have different characters to bring to the table.
There's enough room for everybody to be at that table, right? Like it's a very long table with a lot of seats at this table, but only a few people are sitting in these seats, right? Whether that be the intention, whether that be whatever it is, but I think there's room for us at that table.
For sure.
And I think it's just kind of a matter of us walking into the room and pulling out the chair and sitting down. I don't even really think like it's a long, drawn-out process. I don't think so. I don't feel that way.
And I don't think there's really a gatekeeper either. I think that the individuals, we are our own gatekeepers.
For sure.
You know, so whenever you decide is whenever we decide to take a leap.
That's it. So we all have the ability to fly. It's just some of us are braver than others when it comes time to jump. This is Everyday Get It, guys. And this is my brother, my family, Jermaine Fletcher. I'm Matt Reeves. We are committed to bringing you great content every week. Hold us to that as we hold ourselves to it. And I look forward to connecting with you guys in every possible way and just being an open book and sharing my journey and experiences. And we're going to grow right in front of you guys, and hopefully we'll grow together. Hopefully this inspires so many of the viewers and the listeners to also go on a journey of their own.
You said it all, bro. So this represents day 1, episode 1, Everyday Get It. Let's grow together. Peace.